at a depth of 300 meters beneath the South China Sea. In the southern area of the Paracel Islands, an absolute silence blankets the Kilo-class submarine, 636 of the Vietnam People's Navy. A killer known as the Black Hole of the Ocean, the crew holds their breath, listening to the sound of their own heartbeats. But today, the hunter is becoming the prey. On the passive sonar screen, the operator cannot believe his eyes. It is not a single red dot of an enemy nuclear submarine, opposing forces, but hundreds of ghostly signals, small in size, yet moving in perfect synchronization at unimaginable speed, like a school of piranhas, bloodthirsty steel rushing straight toward the continental shelf. This is not science fiction. This is the most terrifying asymmetric naval warfare scenario of the 21st century, a life-and-death confrontation between the courage of submarine officers among the elite of Southeast Asia and a pack of sharks. A fleet of unmanned submarines, AI-controlled UUVs of China. If this shark pack breaks through the Kilo blockade and infiltrates shallow waters, the entire coastal defense system, oil rigs and naval ports alike, will be neutralized within 24 hours. Without a single shot fired on the surface, just one wrong decision by the Kilo captain. In the next 5 minutes, the balance of power in the South China Sea will shift forever. The battlefield setting is not black smoke rising from cities, but the deadly cold at 300 meters below sea level, where pressure is enough to crush an armored truck like an aluminum can. The South China Sea tonight is eerily calm. No cargo ship propellers, no disturbances from underwater currents. The Kilo 636 submarine, bearing hull number HQ 184, is conducting a covert patrol in the sensitive gray zone waters west of the Paracels. Inside the cramped command compartment, only dim red lights glow, casting eerie shadows on tense faces of the officers, combat operators. The smell of oil mixes with cold sweat, creating a thick atmosphere of anticipation. The event began 48 hours earlier. Naval Technical Intelligence Centers detected a strange phenomenon. Underwater acoustic sensors deployed on the seabed SOSUS in this area suddenly went offline en masse, along a perfectly straight line heading south, not due to natural failure. They were severed. At the same time, reconnaissance satellites recorded the unusual disappearance of Chinese maritime militia fishing vessels, replaced by subtle ripples, moving against ocean currents, undetectable by surface radar. HQ 184 was ordered to dive deeper, drifting silently in total stealth mode. But what they heard was not the familiar noise of a Shang-class nuclear submarine. The MGK-400M passive sonar system suddenly flooded with high-frequency signals, screeching like crickets on a summer night. The sound of low-power electric motors, but in numbers reaching hundreds, a phantom fleet crawling across the continental shelf, carrying a secret mission to redraw the seabed map and neutralize military fiber optic cables before D-hour. On the waterfall display, on the operator's console, strange signal bands appear, abnormally. Unlike random noise from marine life, these signals are sharp, cold, and periodic. They are ultra-low frequency data communications. VLF between machines. The captain of HQ 184 orders. Speed reduced to 2 knots. Switch to ultra-quiet electric propulsion. The 3,000-ton vessel glides like a ghost. But their enemy is not human. This UUV fleet is controlled by a central AI, programmed to hunt any metallic mass that disturbs the local magnetic field. On the sonar screen, the red dots begin to separate from the chaotic mass. They disperse into a net encirclement formation, covering front and rear, sealing off every possible maneuver of the Kilo. Report: 3 targets approaching from the 4 o'clock direction. Speed: 25 knots. They are accelerating. The sonar operator screams, voice cracking with tension. They are not just scouting, they are herding the prey into a trap. These UUVs, with a size only comparable to a heavy torpedo, are more agile than any manned submarine. They glide through underwater canyons, using terrain to conceal themselves, then suddenly appear right alongside the Vietnamese submarine. When detecting, the Kilo, attempting to exploit the thermal layer to hide, the enemy AI changes tactics. Instead of silence, the UUV swarm activates active sonar simultaneously. Active sonar ping ping ping. Sound waves slam into the hull, like sledgehammers striking steel walls, inside the submarine. The echoing noise is ear-splitting. This is not just targeting. This is psychological torture. Continuous active sonar use is an act of extreme provocation aimed at forcing the enemy submarine to surface or reveal its precise position. The captain clenches his teeth, eyes locked on the depth gauge. He knows that firing a torpedo now would fully expose HQ 184 to Chinese surface anti-submarine vessels waiting directly above. On standby, he orders the deployment of MG-74 acoustic decoys. 2 decoys eject from the launch tubes, emitting simulated submarine propeller noise. Racing off in the opposite direction, the UUV swarm hesitates for a moment, splitting up to chase the false target. A small gap opens in the tightening encirclement. Full power engines. Heading 270, depth 200, the Kilo roars. The propeller churns the water into a violent vortex, shooting through the gap in the encirclement, but the escape lasts only 15 minutes. Encrypted data of the underwater encounter is transmitted to Naval Command Headquarters in Haiphong. Alert level shifts to red. Vietnam decides to intervene to relieve HQ 184. From Cam Ranh Naval Base, 2 Gepard 3.9 frigates deploy. HQ 015 Tran Hung Dao and HQ 016 Quang Trung sortie urgently. Ka-28 anti-submarine helicopters spin up. Rotor blades tear through the air, lifting off armed with torpedoes and sonar buoys. China responds immediately. Nearby, scientific research vessels operating illegally abruptly discard their civilian disguise, deploying large satellite communication antennas, acting as signal relay nodes for the swarm. Not stopping there, Vietnam's coastal surveillance radar detects 2 Type 052 destroyers of the South Sea Fleet, moving at maximum speed toward the engagement coordinates. In the skies above, the situation grows increasingly suffocating. Chinese Y-8 maritime patrol aircraft begin circling at low altitude, attempting to deploy sonar buoys to block the submarine's escape route. Vietnam responds. 2 Su-30MK, 2 fighters, scramble from Thanh Son Air Base, armed with KH-31A anti-ship missiles. Performing intimidation passes above the Chinese formation. Back at a depth of 250 meters, HQ 184's situation becomes critical. The UUV swarm, realizing the decoy deception, returns with double the aggression. This time, they do not keep their distance. 1 UUV recklessly rams the Kilo's rear control fins. The entire submarine shudders violently. Steering system error. The hull emits a terrifying metallic groan. This is a kamikaze attack. The enemy is willing to sacrifice an unmanned asset to disable a strategic Vietnamese platform. Report. Depth control fins jammed. We are losing depth control. The submarine begins sinking uncontrollably, approaching the hull's pressure limit. Water pressure increases by the second, threatening to crush the vessel like an egg. Engineers must use manual force to operate the backup hydraulics, straining desperately to regain control. At that very moment, a massive signal suddenly appears on the sonar screen. A ghost larger than anything they have ever encountered. It is a Type 094 strategic nuclear submarine of China, Jin class, silently entering the area as a command mothership for the UUV swarm. Its presence creates a massive acoustic disturbance, an enormous noise shadow, blinding Vietnam's surface sensors. 2 Vietnamese frigates have reached the area. Officers on the command bridge clearly see towering water plumes from warning depth charges dropped by Ka-28 helicopters. China does not back down. Their Type 052 destroyers illuminate Vietnamese ships with fire control radar, an act considered target lock for imminent engagement. The close-in weapon systems, Palma mounts on Vietnamese frigates automatically slew, locking onto the opposing ships. Both sides glare through their sights. The underwater distance shrinks to less than 3 nautical miles. HQ-184 regains stability, but its batteries are rapidly depleting. They cannot run forever. The captain makes a decision, the boldest of his career. Load live torpedoes, Tube 1 and 2, 5365K heavyweight torpedoes. Prepare firing solution. Target: enemy mothership. This is an all-in gamble. If they fire, war will erupt. But if they do nothing, they will be slowly torn apart by the UUV swarm. Just as the captain's finger rests on the launch button, a powerful electromagnetic pulse sweeps across the area. Electronic systems aboard the Kilo flicker violently. Radar screens go dark, then reboot. Outside, the entire UUV fleet suddenly freezes, like puppets with their strings cut. A third power intervenes from 50 nautical miles away. AU-S, nuclear-powered attack submarine. Virginia-class activates a wide-spectrum jamming system, a silent warning sent to both sides. The game has gone too far. Silence blankets the seabed for a few brief minutes. The UUV swarm loses connection to its mothership due to jamming and begins drifting aimlessly. This is the only chance. Emergency surfacing procedures are executed immediately. The Kilo-class submarine 636, bearing the scars of battle, breaks through the blackened surface of the sea, rising directly amid the opposing warship formations with guns trained on each other. The drenched red flag with a yellow star is raised atop the sail, affirming sovereignty and unyielding existence. Before the fangs of a high-tech wolf pack, the suffocating silence on the sea surface lasts exactly 180 seconds. As U.S. electromagnetic interference fades, fire control systems on Chinese warships reboot at lightning speed. The image of Kilo 636, surfacing directly before the enemy destroyer's bow, becomes an undeniable provocation. To the Chinese fleet, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to eliminate Vietnam's greatest undersea threat. On the surface, open fire, main guns, target acquired. Enemy submarine. The order is shouted from the bridge of a Type 052 destroyer. The 76mm main gun turret swings into position. A muzzle flash rips through the darkness, but the shell never reaches the Kilo's hull. From the port side, Vietnamese missile frigate HQ-10 Sao Quang Trung charges forward, cutting across the firing line. Its AK-630M rapid-fire cannon roars like tearing fabric, creating a dense wall of 30mm fire. Intercepting the incoming round mid-air, deafening explosions erupt. Shrapnel rains down onto the sea, raising towering white plumes of water, encircling the embattled submarine. In that moment, the fuse is officially lit for a modern naval war, the largest of the 21st century in the South China Sea. No more warnings. No more diplomacy. The entire fleet enters combat mode. Missile launch orders issued aboard HQ-015 and HQ-016. Missile bay doors swing open. 45 Yuran E anti-ship missiles, known as ship killers, ignite and leave the launchers 8 missiles away, skimming the sea at just 10 meters altitude, racing forward at subsonic speed, straight toward the Chinese warship formation. In retaliation against the Chinese destroyers, a massive volley of surface-to-air missiles is launched from HQ-016 and YJ-83 anti-ship missiles. The night sky ignites like daylight. As dozens of fiery trails crisscross, supersonic booms shatter the sound barrier, echoing with alarm sirens. Forming a chaotic and terrifying symphony, 1YY-83 missile of China slips through air defenses and races straight toward HQ-015. The close-in defense system Palma activates. Two 6-barrel cannons spin wildly, spitting thousands of rounds in seconds. The missile detonates just 50 meters from the hull. The shockwave knocks crew members off their feet. Shrapnel embeds itself across the radar mast. The ship shudders violently but holds. The formation continues counterfire. As the sea turns into a cauldron of fire, above it all, the sky witnesses a clash of aerial titans. Vietnamese Su-30 Mk2 formations jettison fuel tanks and engage afterburners into the fray. Their opponents are J-11B and heavy J-16 fighters arriving from Hainan Island. At ultra-low altitude, one Su-30 Mk2 is tailed by two J-11Bs. Lock-on warnings scream relentlessly. In a split second of life or death, the Vietnamese pilot executes the Pugachev Cobra, the Cobra maneuver. The jet rears up to 110 degrees mid-air, bleeding speed almost to zero. The two J-11Bs overshoot, unable to brake in time. The tables turn. The hunted becomes the hunter. The Su-30 Mk2 noses down. Targets locked via helmet-mounted sight. Two R-73 air-to-air missiles launch. One J-11B fails to deploy flares in time. Hit in the right engine, the wing tears off, spiraling into a massive fireball, crashing into the sea, illuminating the dark sky. But Chinese numbers are overwhelming. J-16 seconds begin firing long-range, PL-15 missiles forcing the Su-30 seconds to scatter, executing violent, evasive maneuvers. The sky erupts, with flares and intercepted missile explosions. A breathtaking yet deadly spectacle. Back on the surface, exploiting the chaos of fierce engagement, Kilo HQ 184 does not dive. The captain realizes diving now would mean falling back into the UUV trap. As they recover, he chooses to attack. Prepare Club S cruise missiles. Target the UUV command mothership. A strike the enemy never anticipated. The Kilo surfaces not to surrender, but to become a surface missile platform. From its 533mm torpedo tubes, two 3M54E Club S missiles burst from the sea. After clearing the tubes, the booster stage separates. The main jet engine ignites. The missiles skim wave tops, accelerating to Mach 2.9, nearly 3 times the speed of sound in terminal phase. The target is the massive research vessel. Behind the Chinese escort formation, the brain controlling hundreds of UUVs. Chinese destroyer. Defensive radar detects the threat. But at close range, the supersonic Club S is nearly impossible to intercept. The first missile punches through the hull, penetrates the engine room before detonating. A 400 kilograms warhead shatters the ship's structural spine. The second strikes the bridge, blowing apart all command antennas. Flames tower hundreds of meters high. The mothership lists heavily and begins to sink. With it, control signals to hundreds of UUVs vanish forever. The sharks become lifeless steel husks, scattered across the ocean floor. The mothership's explosion marks the end of restraint. Both sides suffer losses. A Vietnamese frigate ablaze, a Chinese destroyer with its bow shattered, and a strategic command ship sinking just as madness peaks. A blinding signal appears in the sky. Not a missile, but a flare, a white warning flare fired by a formation of U.S. Navy F/A-18 Super Hornets. A cold message echoes on international frequency. This is the United States Navy. Cease fire immediately, or we will intervene militarily. Gunfire dwindles, then stops. Only crackling flames remain. Waves slapping scarred hulls, and damage alarms wailing through the night. Soldiers on both sides watch through binoculars, exhausted, wounded, yet vigilant. They know that although the guns fell silent, the South China Sea changed forever tonight. A red line was crossed, blood was spilled. The sun rises over the South China Sea, but brings no warmth. only revealing a cold scene of steel, smoke and wreckage. The unmanned submarine fleet, once expected to change China's game, has been neutralized. But at immense cost. Vietnam defended its sovereignty and proved the deterrent power of its submarine force. Yet HQ 184 and the Gepard frigates suffered critical damage, requiring months, even years, to fully recover. The legend of the ocean's black hole was challenged by swarm AI warfare, forcing Hanoi strategists to rewrite naval defense doctrine entirely. On the other side, China lost a strategic command ship and exposed secret technologies, but achieved a live-fire trial. They learned their opponent's limits and forced the U.S. to reveal its hand. The South China Sea has no gray zones now. Reefs and hidden channels, once safe havens, are transparent to modern sensors. Last night proved brutally that the era of maritime guerrilla warfare has ended, giving way to high-tech warfare, where machines decide life and death faster than humans can blink. And as the wreckage of the command ship sinks into the abyss, it drags down a decade-long fragile balance. From this point forward, every ship setting sail carries the seeds of total war, and peace becomes only a brief pause between reloads.